Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 37 based on novel. So let's start. Lightning arrows came flying from every direction and it was just like an onslaught of thunderbolts. The entire space itself seemed to have been slightly distorted as the air exploded. This extremely sudden attack had clearly startled everyone who had just entered the cave. It seems like no one had expected that instead of finding treasures lying all over the floor, they wounded up with such a powerful lightning army as their enemy. Be careful! Although the attack was abrupt, those who entered the cave were all fairly skilled. Some sharp ear-piercing sounds were quickly emitted. In the next moment, countless yuan power erupted like volcanoes. Lightning arrows poured down like a storm. Those 100 over experts wrapped by mighty yuan power in front were penetrated by them almost instantly. The thunderbolts crazily penetrated through their bodies, which exploded into blood fog in front of several pairs of shocked eyes. In fact, the instant their yuan spirit escaped from their bodies, it was immediately hunted down by that sparking lightning glow, before it was finally reduced into nothing. A sharp miserable screech resounded over the place at this moment. Lindong's eyes contained some shock as he observed this scene. Promptly, he came to a sudden comprehension. No wonder Pang Hao waited for so many experts to enter at the same time. It was likely that he already knew that with their current strength, it was impossible for them to charge through the various obstructions, even if they could enter the cave. These experts were the cannon folder that they had found. Lindong's eyes stared at the lightning army in the distance. Those people were being covered by a lightning glow and Lindong could not sense any life force from them. However, he was able to sense the wild and violent lightning strength from within. They were not real people. Instead, they were strange life forms formed by the lightning strength. Regardless, when they gathered together in such large numbers, they were indeed worthy of being described as a lightning army. Let's hide. Lindong grabbed Mu Lingshan before his burning sky furnace flew out. After which, the both of them hid inside it. The burning sky furnace also swiftly shrunk. After which, it turned into the size of a palm. Bright light seeped out from it and formed a defensive barrier. Bang bang bang. The lightning arrow had rained down just as the Lindong duo entered the burning sky furnace. The 10 individuals in front, who attempted to block the attack, were turned into a bloody fog in the blink of an eye. Their defenses were completely useless in the face of such a frightening number of lightning arrows. Even the tiny burning sky furnace could not escape from the densely packed attack. The lightning arrow ruthlessly smashed onto the burning sky furnace, emitting a clear metallic sound in the process. Many ripples automatically spread from above the burning sky furnace, causing it to vibrate intensely. This caused Lindong, who was hiding in the burning sky furnace, to feel a little frightened. Fortunately, he did not act arrogantly and directly fight back against this attack. Otherwise, he would wound up in quite a miserable state now. Miserable cries continued to reverberate in the outside world. With just a round of raining lightning arrows, the air itself seemed to have been filled by a blood fog. Half of those experts, who had charged in earlier, were completely wiped out by this terrifying attack. The blood fog slowly spread. The remaining experts, who were lucky to stay alive, all had shocked expressions. Why was it that this cave was just like an execution ground? Creak. The distant lightning army once again drew their bows while everyone were quietly stunned. Thunderbolts flashed over the bows. Clearly, another round of frightening attack was being brewed. Charge! Don't allow them to unleash their attacks. Otherwise, all of us will die here. A furious roar suddenly sounded while the lightning flickered. Those who could reach this place were no ordinary individuals. Previously, they were caught off guard because of the surprise attack. By the time they had recovered, everyone felt furious in their hearts. After experiencing that frightening attack, it was likely that another round would result in even heavier casualties. Charge! Majestic yuan power suddenly erupted at this moment. Immediately, countless figures rushed forward. Powerful martial arts were all unleashed. After which, they became like many sharp blades that forcefully tore through the lightning formation afar. The wild thunderbolt explosions rumbled over this area, which seemed like an ancient battlefield. The lightning army had also begun to clash with the large group of experts who had barged into the cave. Let's go. Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan quickly scooted out from the burning sky furnace. Their bodies moved and also charged into the lightning army, which had been torn apart. If one wished to enter the deep parts of the cave, it was necessary for one to cross this lightning battlefield. Silver lights flashed around Lin Dong duo as they charged into the lightning army. Immediately, some lightning figures rushed over. They were carrying lightning spears while their bodies were covered by a lightning glow. It was impossible to clearly discern their appearance. However, there was a continuous, wild, and violent fluctuation being emitted from within their bodies. Bang! Green light surged around Lin Dong's body. A punch was thrown and it directly caused a couple of light figures to explode. After these light figures exploded, they turned into several lightning glow that scattered apart. However, Lin Dong was startled when he realized that these lightning glow did not completely disappear. Instead, they entered the other lightning figures. With their entry, Lin Dong could clearly sense that those other lightning figures had become increasingly powerful. What a strange object. Lin Dong's heart was slightly chilled after he witnessed this scene. Only then did he realize how troublesome it was to deal with this lightning army. If they continued to fight in this fashion, it would be extremely difficult to finish all of them off. Moreover, the more they killed, the stronger the remaining lightning figures would be. If it continued to drag on in this manner, they would be exhausted to death in this lightning battlefield sooner or later. Let's go. We cannot stay here. Lin Dong turned his head and softly cried out to Mu Lingshan by the side. Immediately, a green light surged over his body. 4 green dragon symbols surfaced over his body. After which, he stopped fighting with those lightning figures and chose to use the most brutal method to forcefully charge through them. Most of the experts present had keen eyesight. Hence, they had also discovered the peculiarity of these lightning figures after Lin Dong did so. Immediately, countless rushing wind sound appeared as they also forcefully charged through the formation like Lin Dong. The lightning army also detected the attack from such a large number of experts. Hence, its subsequent attacks became increasingly ferocious. Occasionally, there would be some miserable cries being emitted. With the combined effort of Lin Dong duo, the both of them turned into 2 rays of light that swiftly shuttled through the lightning army. Those areas where they passed seemed as though it had been swept by an irresistible force. There is a spatial fluctuation in front. We are about to charge through. Lin Dong's heart shook slightly as he charged forward. He lifted his head only to see that an end to the lightning army could be seen in the distance. There was a silver-colored light circle slowly rotating at that spot. That place was where the true entrance to the cave was located. Brother Lin Dong, be careful. Beside him, Mu Lingshan suddenly cried out in a delicate voice while Lin Dong was focused on the silver light circle in the distance. 10 bright figures in lightning armor suddenly rushed out from the surrounding lightning army. The light spears in their hands were accompanied by a shocking fluctuation as they surrounded and attacked the fatal spots around Lin Dong's body. The might of these figures in lightning armors were undoubtedly stronger than the others from before. Bang! However, their lightning spears were about to strike Lin Dong when the black coffin cover swept over. Black light ripples spread. Finally, it collided heavily with those 10 lightning spears. A metallic sound appeared before a wild and violent force spread. Those 10 light figures were forced back by over 10 meters by Mu Lingshan. However, the latter was also pushed back by a step. Some lightning flickered over the coffin cover. Let's go. Don't get entangled with them. Lin Dong's eyes became focused after seeing this. The strength of these lightning-armored figures could be compared with that of an advanced profound life stage expert. Moreover, none of them were afraid to die. In fact, if any one of them died, it would only allow the remaining light figures to become even more powerful. Lin Dong grabbed Mu Lingshan after his voice sounded. His body rushed out and headed towards the spatial gap, which had appeared in front of them. His body was just like a huge bird that flew past the sky and directly headed towards the silver light circle. Brother Lin Dong is rather quick. However, I should enter this place first and check it out. A loud laughter was suddenly emitted from beside Lindong the moment the latter was about to enter the silver light circle. Immediately, a rushing wind sound appeared. Soon after, waves of sharp wind mercilessly strike towards Lindong's back. Pang Hao! A cold glint immediately flashed within Lindong's eyes after he heard the laughter. He clenched his hand. 8 green dragon light symbols suddenly appeared. After which, he turned around and threw a punch. Boom! The air itself seemed to have exploded under the pressure of the fist after the punch was thrown. A green dragon force suddenly whistled out of Lindong's fist. After which, it collided with the other wind that was striking at him. Bang! The low and deep explosion resounded over the mid-air. That wild and violent fluctuation once again forced back those lightning-armored figures which were charging over. Lindong also borrowed this push force to drift backwards with Mu Lingshan. Finally, he landed into that silver light circle. Ha ha, sorry. There is no need for you now. Lindong turned his body around after landing on the light circle. He laughed loudly to the large group charging over from behind. After which, his body entered the light circle and swiftly disappeared in front of a grim-looking Pang Hao. After them, a fierce glint flashed across Pang Hao's eyes after he saw that Lindong had actually beat him to their destination. A cold snort sounded as he led his large group to swiftly charge into the light circle. Behind them, there were also some experts who were breaking through the lightning battlefield and hurrying to the light circle. The instant Lindong charged into the light circle, he was able to clearly sense a powerful spatial fluctuation being emitted from within. Resplendent silver light filled his eyes. A moment later, he gradually got used to it and slowly opened up his eyes. The scene in front of him was captured into his mind the moment he opened his eyes. Subsequently, an absent-minded look filled his eyes. An extremely vast swath of land appeared in front of Lindong and there were many clusters of buildings on it. However, most of these buildings were already in ruins. Nevertheless, judging from the scale of the ruins, it was not difficult to imagine how majestic and mighty they were when everything was still in perfect condition back then. The entire land had a greyish and defeated color and a dilapidated aura permeated over the entire area. The ancient feeling mixed within it caused one to understand that this land had not seen any form of life for a long time. Lindong was a little startled as he observed the scene in front of him. Clearly, he did not expect that this mysterious cave was actually so broken down. At a glance, it did not appear to have been successfully left behind as a legacy. Instead, it was as though it had been destroyed by a calamity. The owner of this cave should be the Thunderbolt Master, right? Lindong muttered to himself inside his heart. It doesn't mean that the owner of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol is the Thunderbolt Master. There is a huge gap between the ancient times and this era. During this period of time, the 8 masters entered a deep slumber or reincarnation because of various reasons. The 8 great ancestral symbols had also found other owners. The owner of this cave was clearly someone who was fortunate enough to stumble upon the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol back then, just like you. Yang's voice sounded within Lindong's heart at this moment. Lindong nodded slightly. Although the owner of this cave was definitely a top expert back then, it was likely that he was still lacking compared to the domineering Thunderbolt Master from the ancient times. Brother Lindong, is this the cave? It seems to be in ruins. Will there be any treasures here? Mu Lingshan's big eyes looked at the devastated land from beside him and involuntarily muttered. Lindong smiled. He said, "Let's go. We will first take a look around. There will definitely be some rewards given the size of this cave." Lindong rushed forward after his voice sounded. His speed had been reduced greatly. Meanwhile, his eyes continuously scanned the ruins below as he flew across the air. With this progress between the two, Lindong was able to see the traces left behind from many large battles. It seemed like an earth-shaking battle had indeed erupted in this place back then. Perhaps it could even be described as a war. Could it be a bloody war between 2 super factions? This thought lingered within Lindong's heart. Although he did not know about the origin of this cave, it was likely that it should be relatively powerful back then. After all, a reincarnation stage expert who possessed an ancestral symbol was definitely the elite amongst the elite even during the ancient times. Hence, what puzzled Lin Dong the most was which faction actually dared to attack a sect that had a reincarnation stage expert with an ancestral symbol. This thought flashed within Lin Dong's heart while his eyes continuously scanned the area below. Suddenly, a thought passed through his mind. The scene in front of him was actually vaguely familiar. It seemed as though he had seen such a scene from somewhere else. That place was the super faction within the Great Desolate Tablet in the Great Desolated Province of the Great Yang Empire. Lin Dong's expression slowly turned grave at this moment. He finally understood why he would find this place familiar. This was because the aura of this place was actually quite similar to that ancient sect within the Great Desolated Tablet. Moreover, the most shocking aspect was that both of them had a commonality. It was that one possessed the devouring ancestral symbol, while the other possessed the thunderbolt ancestral symbol. Could this be the source of the disaster? Just what creature has been chasing after these factions who possessed the ancestral symbols? Lin Dong's forward-moving body slowly came to a stop. Some shock rose within his eyes. After which, his heart spoke dryly, "Yang. Have you discovered it?" Yang's voice was still indifferent. He merely sighed softly in the face of this. "Is this done by the Yimo?" Lin Dong inhaled a deep breath and questioned. Although my master had sealed the spatial crack back then, there were still many Yimo which barged into this plane. Although most of the Yimo were eliminated after being continuously surrounded and attacked by many experts in the word, there are still some remaining behind. The ancient sect which you had seen in the Great Desolate Tablet back then was destroyed by the Yimo. This cave in front of you most likely suffered the same fate. Those Yimo creatures are clearly aware that the ancestral symbols possessed the strength to kill them. Hence, they would target anyone who possessed the ancestral symbols and quietly kill them. Cold sweat immediately rose on Lin Dong after he heard this. Just what kind of great powers did the Yimo possess? They were actually even able to eliminate such a faction? In this current world, are there still Yimo? Lin Dong clenched his hand tightly. If this was the case, does that mean that he would sooner or later be targeted by those Yimo, hidden in some unknown part of the world? There should still be some. Additionally, it seems like the remaining Yimo are even more difficult to deal with. They are extremely good at hiding themselves and no one knows what they are up to. Yang was quiet for a moment before he replied. Lin Dong clenched his hands tightly and only relaxed them a moment later. He involuntarily laughed bitterly. At this moment, he finally understood that possessing an ancestral symbol was also a great source of trouble. Not only would he have to take precaution against those human experts who would attempt to snatch his ancestral symbols, but he would also have to guard against those Yimo which were hidden in some unknown place. After these years, Lin Dong had also gained a better understanding of these Yimo. He was clearly aware of just how terrifying they were. If he was targeted, it was likely that his fate would be quite terrible. If you are afraid of such trouble, all you need to do is to abandon the ancestral symbol. Yang spoke faintly. Lin Dong was slightly startled upon hearing this. He immediately parted his mouth and laughed. A sharpness was formed within those dark black eyes as he laughed. There is no reason to throw away something that is mine. Regardless of who it is, it would be no easy task trying to snatch something from me. Lin Dong's young face suddenly turned ferocious after his voice sounded. Since when had he been afraid of anyone during all these years, after he left the small Qingyang town? So what if it's the Yimo? There will come a day when I, Lin Dong, will be strong enough to cause the Yimo to tremble in fear. Yang did not utter anything more. However, Lin Dong was able to sense that the ancestral stone within his body seemed to have emitted a satisfied sigh. Brother Lin Dong, look in front of you. Mu Lingshan, who was beside Lin Dong, suddenly cried out while the latter was chatting with Yang in his heart. Her small hand pointed in front of her. There was a damaged arena in front of them. At this moment, it seems like there were some humans present on it. Lin Dong looked in the direction and his eyes hardened. Green light surged from within his body. After warning Mu Lingshan to be careful, he gradually slowed down. Finally, he hovered in mid-air above the damaged arena. After approaching the arena, Lin Dong finally discovered that there were nearly 1,000 human figures seated on the ruined arena. However, these human figures had already lost all life force. Their bodies were covered with dust and they looked withered. Lin Dong was suspended in mid-air. His expression was grave as he stared at this scene. He discovered that all of them were facing the south and each of them have raised one hand. It was as though they were combining their strength to defend against something. However, from the looks of this situation, it seems like their combined defense had failed. Lin Dong curled his lips. Even 1,000 experts cooperating together still suffered such a miserable fate. One could only imagine just how terrifyingly those Yumo, which had attacked this cave back then, were. Brother Lin Dong, someone is coming from behind. Standing beside him, Mu Lingshan suddenly glanced behind her. Many rushing wind sound was emitted from that spot. It seems like there were many experts continuously entering this cave. Those rushing wind sound was quite hurried. Within less than 10 breaths' time, 100 over figures had came hurrying over. Finally, they were also attracted by this unusual scene and came to a halt a short distance from where Lin Dong was. Those experts glanced at Lin Dong before throwing their sight towards the arena. There was a rich shock flashing over their eyes. Although they were unaware of just what had happened here, this situation was still a little alarming. It is only a bunch of dead people. What is there to see? There were some people in the crowd who were impatient. They immediately waved their sleeves before a wild gust blew and directly swept across the arena. Those 1,000 human figures were instantly turned into dust and scattered into the wild wind as it passed. There are no treasures at all. Some of the experts involuntarily curled their mouths when they saw the empty arena. There are still corpses that have yet to disappear. Some people were about to leave when an exclamation sounded. One could see 18 shriveled figures still sitting quietly. Their bodies were actually not decomposed from the erosion of time. There are treasures. The eyes of some people immediately brightened upon seeing this. Since they were able to endure the erosion of time, it was clearly that these people were extremely powerful individuals when they were alive. Hence, there was definitely some treasures on them. Over 10 figures rushed forward under the allure of treasure. After which, they landed near the 18 shriveled figures. Lin Dong's eyes stared intently at the 18 shriveled figures. For some unknown reason, an uneasy sensation flashed across his heart. His eyes flickered for a moment before he suddenly grabbed Mu Lingshan and rushed backwards. Bang! Those 18 shriveled figures on the square, which had originally lost all life force, suddenly opened their deep eyes the moment their bodies rushed forward. An evil and cold black flame leaped from within their eyes before flames immediately swept forth. The instant the 10 figures, which had charged forward, touched the black flames, they turned into dust immediately. Miserable screeches promptly sounded out. Bang! Those 18 shriveled human figures slowly stood up at this moment before the evil black flames spread. After which, they lifted their heads and locked onto the 100 overstunned individuals in front. Black flames, which blotted the skies, erupted abruptly and swept across the empty arena. Meanwhile, the sinister and chilling sensation emitted by it caused the surrounding temperature to rapidly plummet. As these withered figures slowly stood up, Lin Dong quickly reacted and dragged Mu Lingshan as they rapidly retreated. He had encountered a similar situation before. During his time in Unique Devil Region, the demonic corpses that he had seen were similar to those in front of him now. The only difference was that these 18 withered figures were clearly much more powerful than the demonic corpses that he met previously. While retreating, Lin Dong's eyes rapidly swept across the dantian of the 18 withered figures. A black light whirlpool was present in every one of them, while a sinister and chilling black air pervaded them. At the same time, rich fluctuations of death chi were mixed within those whirlpools. Before these people died, they were all of the death profound stage. Lin Dong's eyes faintly narrowed. After suffering the corrosion of that sinister black air, it could be said that those withered figures did not possess any intelligence. However, their fleshly bodies were extremely powerful and they could even use the death chi they had refined in the past life. As such, their current strength was even comparable to a half-step death profound stage experts. Roar! Just as Lin Dong was rapidly retreating, the black flames within the eyes of those 18 withered figures leaped forth. In the next instant, they simultaneously shot forward explosively. The sinister death chi that was pervaded with the black flames instant swept the 10+ experts who did not manage to retreat in time. Miserable shrieking sounds resounded out as those 10+ experts were unable to even put up a single shred of resistance, before instantly turning in ashes. Even their yuan spirits were reduced to nothing by those black flames. Upon seeing this spectacle, horror and shock erupted uncontrollably from the eyes of many experts. Don't be afraid, the dantian in these withered corpses contain the death chi that they refined in their past life. Right now, due to the compression, they had turned into deathly silent pills. If one is able to obtain it, it would be very beneficial when one attempts to break through to the death profound stage in the future. Although they are formidable, we've more people on our side. If we cooperate, we'll definitely be able to kill them. While some people were shocked and intimidated by the might and terror of those withered corpses, a person suddenly roared out in a loud voice. One could hear the thick intent of greed present within his words. Deathly silent pill. Upon hearing those words, roars instantly rang out from many experts. In the next moment, blood-red light erupted furiously from the eyes of quite a few people, with even fear and terror being forcibly suppressed down. The individuals that made it to the cave dwelling were all experts that had came from various parts of the chaotic demon sea. They could be generally considered to have much experience, with pretty good knowledge and fierce spirits within their hearts. Within the allure of the treasure before their eyes, the fear and dread present previously had reduced by quite a bit. Let's join forces and attack together. Finally, some of them clenched their teeth and spoke out in a vicious tone. As more and more experts gathered together, boundless yuan power rushed towards the sky. As various people started to take action, powerful soul treasures started to flash out. From the looks of it, it was clear that they were planning to rely on their overwhelming numbers to fight against these withered corpses. A bunch of idiots. Upon seeing this spectacle, Lin Dong quietly cursed them in his heart. Meanwhile, his body never stopped moving as he quickly left this area. The strength of these 18 withered figures were at half-step death profound stage. In addition to the tempering from the sinister black air over such a long time, their withered and skinny bodies were as hard as diamond. Furthermore, they did not feel pain, dread, nor fear. Fighting with them was tantamount to courting one's own death. Even the current him would feel a slightly headache when faced with a single one of these creatures. What's more, there were 18 of them now. Although Mu Lingshan did not know why Lin Dong walked away from here with such speed, being used to the latter's actions, she immediately followed suit. Not long after the two had shot away, astonishing fluctuations radiated out abruptly from the skies behind them, as miserable shrieks followed suit immediately after. They are all dead. Unable to control her curiosity, Mu Lingshan turned her head around and looked at the far distance behind. The sky over there had black flames raging within, while the hundreds of experts had chose to stay behind were all directly reduced into ashes. Hearing her words, Lin Dong shrugged his shoulders. These fellows wanted to risk their lives and there was nothing he could do about it. Although the deathly silent pills were very tempting, he knew that keeping his life was still the most important task. Let's go, Lin Dong said, before increasingly his speed. These things were simply too dangerous. Big brother Lin Dong, they are coming. Instantly, Mu Lingshan's facial expression changed abruptly as she shouted hastily. What? Lin Dong's eyes instantly contracted, before turning around in the next second. Indeed, he could see in the far distance where black flames were raging, 18 withered figures slowly walking out. Transforming into 18 rays of black light, they flew towards him. They can feel the devouring ancestral symbol within your body. Yang's voice rang out in Lin Dong's heart at this instant. Hearing those words, Lin Dong's face turned slightly gloomy. He had already taken the initiative to retreat first. Hence, he had never expected he would still be targeted by those damn monsters in the end. Let's go. Lin Dong's eyes sparkled, before uttering 2 words to Mu Lingshan. Abruptly shooting out in the next instant, he tried to see if he could escape from those creatures. There were quite a few treasure seekers that had rushed into the cave dwelling. If they were to consume too much of their strength while fighting with those creatures, and if they were also spotted by others, they might wound up in a dangerous situation. Yes. Mu Lingshan nodded her head. She also knew how formidable those withered figures were. It was naturally best for them to be able to avoid fighting with them. Their figures transformed into streaks of light before they shoot away explosively. In their backs, black flames erupted as 18 withered figures chased after them rapidly. The sinister and chilling fluctuations radiating from them caused this already desolate earth to deteriorate even further. As one party fled while the other party chased, this pursuit lasted for a dozen over minutes before Lin Dong's gaze grew increasingly gloomy. He could sense that those withered figures chasing him did not have the slightest intent of giving up, and had instead chased after them with increased urgency. Furthermore, during this pursuit and fleeing, Lin Dong had also bumped into some treasure seekers along the way. However, upon seeing the withered figures with astonishingly imposing auras behind the former, they had instantly fled in a flurry, before looked at Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan in the distance with gloating looks in their eyes. Naturally, Lin Dong did not expect much from these cold onlookers. The fact that they did not plunge a dagger in his back was already an extremely fortunate incident. As for hoping to collaborate with them to deal with those withered figures, that was something that was best not to think about. Hence, he could only rely on himself in order to solve this problem. Lin Dong's eyes sparkled as he continued to converse with Yang in his heart to find a way to deal with them. This continued for a while, before his eyes suddenly contracted, as he said in astonishment in his heart, "You want to take action?" From the previous conversation, Yang suddenly said that it could deal with the problem before them. This truly made Lin Dong feel a little startled. After all, having obtained the ancestral stone for so many years, he had rarely seen it display its might. The thing that's causing them to move is the Yimo Qi that's present within their bodies. As long as we can dispel those Yimo Qi, they'll naturally collapse without a fight. The Yimo Qi is an extremely sinister energy and is extremely difficult to dispel. However, the energy of the ancestral stone is able to dispel it. Yan laughed and explained, with a sliver of arrogance present within his words. After all, it was created precisely to deal with these Yimos. However, we need to trap them first. Hearing its words, Lin Dong's eyes sparkled. He understood that if he were to stop moving, he would definitely be entangled by those withered figures. At that time, wanting to escape once again would be rather difficult. All right. Nonetheless, although he felt fear and dread present within his heart, Lin Dong quickly nodded his head. The ancestral stone had accompanied him for so many years. Thus, he still had some confidence in the latter. Lingshan, be careful. We're about to take action. Glaring at the withered figures behind him, Lin Dong spoke out in a soft voice. Okay. Mu Lingshan nodded her head, while excitement pulsed within her big eyes. With a hug, the massive life-death coffin cover appeared in a flash, before black light waves slowly erupted from it. Lin Dong's figure swept out, before descending on a destroyed mountain peak not far away. Upon landing, his hands instantly came together to form a strange seal, which he abruptly used to contact the ground. Great Desolation Scripture. A strange fluctuation extended out at an astonishing speed. The earth around 100 kilometers in radius instantly started to turn barren at a rapid pace. Wave after wave of energy erupted from the earth, before pouring straight into Lin Dong's body. Ancient Universe Formation. As boundless energy entered his body, a glowing array condensed erupted on Lin Dong's palms. In the next moment, Yuan power rushed berserkly into it, causing storms to form as the glowing array expanded drastically, rapidly transforming into a gigantic array hundreds of meters large which enveloped him within it. After the array was opened, carrying along black flames that blotted the skies, the 18 withered figures that were shooting over from behind rushed into the array. Now, it's time to reverse the role of the hunter and the prey. Raising his head, Lin Dong looked towards the 18 withered figures within the ancient universe formation, as a chilling smile surfaced at the corner of his mouth. This video will end here.